Hello and welcome to another episode of 177 Nations of Tasmania. Now, when you mention Kazakhstan to a lot of people in Australia, probably the first thing they think of is Borat, the fictional comedy character of Sacha Baron Cohen. Now, this is probably an indication of how little we actually know about this huge country in the middle of Central Asia. In this episode, I'm talking with Diana, and I hope to open just a little window onto this part of the world. Diana grew up in Almaty, the largest city of Kazakhstan and a historical capital, and had quite an unusual educational experience as she transferred to a special sports school at a young age where she would focus on becoming a professional swimmer. Later on, she would study hospitality in Sydney before moving to Hobart 3 years ago for a lifestyle change, and has really embraced the natural attractions of Tasmania. Tell me about where you grew up in Kazakhstan. What kind of place was it?
In Kazakhstan, it was a city called Almaty.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, it was called city Verny. And it's a pretty good place, really big place. A lot of nature, a lot of mountains. And you can come outside and then you can see this beautiful spectrum of mountains. And they're a lot taller than in Tasmania, I would say. But still, that's my city.
Yeah, because Almaty is sort of more of it's quite an old traditional city, if I'm not mistaken. And what was the neighborhood where you grew up? What was that like?
So I grew up in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like city, like you can say it's sort of similar to Hobart one, but a lot more, you can say, mega malls, like a lot of shopping places to be, and like I grew up in the city center, and neighborhood is like very, very close. We were like very close. Like I would know all my neighbors down because we were living on level 5, and like we knew everybody across the whole building.
And I know in a lot of ex-Soviet cities, it's mostly made up of apartment buildings. Was it like that?
Yeah.
Because as I mentioned to you, I lived in Russia, and I lived in one of these old style apartment buildings where there's kind of like a U shape, and then there's another one opposite the same, and there's a children's play area in the middle.
Yeah. That's about right. Yeah, that's what we were living in as well.
Okay.
We could go to another area, like another kids' ground as well, and then we had to ask permission from our parents to go there, but first of all, to go there because it's like far and stuff like that. But it's like pretty much what you described. Yeah. That's where we lived in. And we knew everyone from this side of the road to another side of the road, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Okay. And what are sort of your maybe strongest memories from your childhood of growing up?
I would say playing football with my friends and climbing trees and like buying snacks. If you had like 50 cents or something, like a coin of 50, it could buy you like chewing gum, water, and then maybe chips, and then you could share with everyone. It was so cheap and it was so nice.
And did you come from a big family?
So I've got my little brother and my little sister, and when she was born, I was already in Australia, so I didn't see her that much.
Okay.
Yeah. So she's now 9. My brother, he is 22.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 27.
What was school like at that time?
It was, I wouldn't say it's tough because I was doing sport mostly, and I was focusing on sports. So I could get my leeways, you can say. Because you had to, like I was studying in the sports school where sports was like the main priority.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And when did you start that?
I started when like I was really small. I don't even remember when I started it. Before that, I was into music a lot. And then after that, my parents put me in sport, in swimming. Yeah.
So how does that happen? Is it that someone identifies that you have a talent and recommends you go to a certain school?
I think my dad, he got recommendation from, because he was in sport as well, like he's a weightlifter, and he was a national trainer for synchronized swimming. And then his friend trainer, she saw me and she's like, oh, why don't you just put her in swimming with us? Because she looks like she could do it. And he's like, all right, yeah, we can try. And that's how it went, I think.
So what's involved then in that kind of school?
In that kind of school, like we still got the education like algebra and math and Russian and etc. But for example, if you miss the deadline or something because of your competition, you could do it again because they will give you another chance to do it because they understand that, yeah, okay, she had a competition. Let's put her another day or let's give her another extra day to do this exam or this assignment. This sort of leeway, as you can say, if you call it leeway.
And you went to that school all through your sort of high school years?
Yeah, but I think I started the sports school when like maybe it's grade 6. I think, yeah. Before that, it was like a intense school. Mm-hmm. And then because I couldn't keep up like with intense school and then plus sport, they're like, we can transfer her to the sports school actually. It would be a bit like still good education, but not as intense. Like we could give her a chance to do this exam again, let's say. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how did the sports training fit in with the sort of academic education?
Let's say you would have a training at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. until 8:30. And then it was because it was in the same area, like you would have a pool just down the road, and then the school is just like across the road. So you would finish 8:30, go have breakfast, go to school until like 4, then go back to training from 5 till 9.
So it sounds like it was fairly intense then.
Yeah, because like we had to train for competitions.
And how often would you compete then?
Like I would say maybe once a year, or maybe once 2 years. Yeah, something like that.
And what was the sort of expectation or the end goal of you going to this kind of school? What would you normally end up with?
So with this particular school, you could become a trainer. I think that was the goal of the school, to make you a trainer. And obviously, if you could become Olympic champion, that would be even better. But I didn't want to be a trainer, and that's why I chose hospitality degree. And because it allows you to travel around the world as well.
And when did you come to that decision? Like at what point?
I think when I just finished this degree, the high school. And that's when we had like sort of exhibition in Kazakhstan in Intercontinental Hotel. And they were talking about these international schools around the world. And that's when my mom found out about it. And she's like, why don't you and your dad go there and just check it out? What are they talking about? Maybe you will like it. And I'm like, yeah, all right. So we went there and I liked it. And I'm like, so we made a decision and we went to Spain. I went to Spain. Was that
an easy thing to do, or was it a bit of an adjustment to?
It was hard because I arrived there and all these people they knew, but I knew that we're all in the same boat. Like they miss their parents too, or they miss their friends and family as well. Yeah, it was a hard time adjusting because homesick, and you would call your parents every day and every night. But then you kind of get used to it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, because you have friends, and the more study you have, the more friends you have, the busier you get, and you just kind of like, yeah, you don't have that homesick anymore. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it like very different for you compared to Kazakhstan? Was it a big jump?
Maybe because I was traveling before, it was not as big as of a jump, but it was still big a jump because I was there by myself. I didn't have my family there with me, so yeah, it was kind of hard.
What was the hardest thing, do you think?
Maybe adjusting to people, because there were like all sorts of different people. But it was kind of good for me because I was challenging myself to get out there, meet new people, make new friends from around the world.
Tell me a bit about your family. You mentioned that your father was sort of sportsman. What did your mother do?
My mother, she's more into, because my dad is a ex-weightlifter, she's not into that. She's like more yoga and stretching and flow. But he likes boxing, he likes football. My brother, he's into sport as well. Like he did modern pentathlon.
Did your father like encourage a lot of sort of more physical activity?
Yeah, I would say he was the main man in the family who would be like, yeah, physical activity is good, moves your body and stuff like that. And I'm kind of grateful for that because I know how to swim now. And
very useful in Australia too.
Yeah.
Now I think about it, it's Kazakhstan is a landlocked country.
Yeah, we don't have that many places to swim, so you have to like kind of drive 2 or 3 hours away to actually swim. Mm-hmm. And because we have real snow like in the city and in the mountains as well, we would drive in the mountain and then sled, like because there were such a crazy sleds in Kazakhstan.
Yeah.
And we always enjoyed it. Like my brother and I, we would just like, oh, Dad, let's go. We should go sledding. And he's like, I'm tired. But he would drive us anyway, so.
What brought you to Tasmania?
That's a very interesting question. I think the nature, the people, I've heard so many good things about Tasmania, that people are here very nice, very genuine, very kind. And that's what brought me and my partner here.
What specifically, I mean, that's what attracted you to Tasmania, but was there any other reason that brought you, like did you come for work or was it a lifestyle change or what was
lifestyle change, also migration purposes as well. Yeah, I would say like a bit of change from Sydney because Sydney was a little bit busy and Tasmania is like a little bit settled down, a little bit quieter. And we had an option between Darwin and Tasmania. And because we like cold, my partner and I, so we chose Tasmania.
So you'd previously been living in Sydney before you came here? Yeah.
For like 6 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what took you to Sydney in the first place?
I was in Spain before Sydney.
Okay.
I was studying and working there in Marbella, in Madrid. And I could speak a little bit of Spanish and understand it. Right now, obviously not. Like, it's just a little bit, just bits and pieces. And then I was kind of like, I want to try something new. I want to go somewhere else. And then I remembered Finding Nemo.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I remember that picture of Opera House and how they found Nemo and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. I told my parents, let's try there. I want to go to Australia. And they're like, you have only 3 months. So I don't think you're going to get visa, but we can try. So we submit the documents for a student visa and we got it. And then because I was studying under laureate umbrella, they had like multiple universities across the world. And that's why I got to I studied in Spain in La Roche-Marbella. And then I transferred to Blue Mountains because they're under the same umbrella. So it's kind of I continued, so I didn't miss anything. And that was good.
You came to Australia, 9 years ago?
Yeah.
And that was mainly to study?
Mainly to study, yeah.
And what made you decide to sort of stay longer?
Because I kind of fell in love with... When I arrived here from Spain, I kind of felt like this is my area, this is my place, and I felt belong. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I want to stay here. It's kind of... I don't want to go back. I do miss my family, but that's where this city came along. I don't know. When I arrived to Sydney, I just felt something. Something clicked. And I'm like, I really want to stay here. Not just in Sydney, but then in Australia in general. Like, I like the culture that you guys have.
What was there anything particular about the culture that appealed to you?
I would say people are outgoing. Mm-hmm. They don't really care that much about stuff, which is good because we people tend to care about a lot about like small unnecessary stuff. And then this kind of culture showed me that you just need to live, you just need to enjoy your life the way you are. It doesn't matter how much you earn them, it doesn't matter where you work, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you just live, have fun. And that's what I kind of like.
What were your first impressions on coming to Tasmania?
Cold and fresh air. That's the biggest part. Like fresh air, really tasty water. And I fell in love with that straight away. I was like, wow, that's very good. But obviously, when I first came from Sydney to Tassie, obviously I was cranky because I was like, oh, where's all these food places? Where is the shopping mall that I used to? I was still living in the city as well, like Sydney CBD and stuff. So that's why I was like, oh, a bit cranky. But then when you get used to it, you fall in love and you don't want to go. Like recently, my partner and I, we visited Sydney and we were like, the water is not good, the fresh air, where is the fresh air? And we missed Hobart. We just wanted to come back.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people, when they come from a big city to Hobart, there's things you can't always get here, or it's a bit harder to find than in Melbourne or Sydney, but it's a matter of adapting, I guess.
Yeah, and then you fall in love with the community and people here. They're very nice and you just don't want to go.
Maybe what was the hardest or most challenging thing to adapt to on coming here for you?
The jobs, I would say, finding a job. And then, because when we came here, even though we had like greatest experiences, we still had to be refused for some reason. Even though like we had really good experiences, it was hard to find a job. Like we had to start from zero.
Yep.
And then back up again.
So how were you trying to find a job? Like, what did you do?
We did everything. We did Seek.com, Indeed.com, everything online, marketplace, something, jobs on Facebook and Gumtrees. And then we print out the resumes. We were walking around, passing our resumes to every single cafe that we saw. I understand Tasmanians as well because like we came here from Sydney, from mainland as they call it, and we don't know anyone and they're like, we don't know you as well, so I kind of understand. It's like, that's our land and you're from there, and so you had to kind of gain their trust or something. Yeah,
I think this is a common challenge for a lot of people at first. So how did you manage to get work eventually?
Through, like I got an interview through because I passed my resume, like the paper one, and they called me actually. And I got a job.
What kind of job was it?
It was an Italian restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah, in North Hobart. And it was really good, very hard because we lived like really far. We were living in Mount Nelson or Mount something, and we didn't have a car, so I had to finish at a particular time to get a bus. If I miss a bus, then there is a taxi, and then all you earned, it will go to taxi.
And how long did it take you to find your first job here?
I was actually lucky when I came to Tassie. I got it in after 2 weeks or 1 week. I got this Italian restaurant offer, and then after that, it just kept coming. I'm good at what I do. Yeah.
But how long did you work at the Italian restaurant?
I think maybe like 6 months, and then I found something better, and then after that, something better. I had like multiple jobs because it was hard to find part-time or full-time. So at least I got to part-time, and then I made to full-time. And then I was like, okay, I need some stability. I can't do casuals all the time.
Yeah, and I guess in 2020 as well, it would have been better to have an office job as an accountant and work in hospitality.
Oh yeah, because in hospitality, that all of those jobs that I was working, I had 3 jobs at the time, and all of them had to close down. And then because you're casual, you don't have any support. And then because you're on visa, you don't have Centrelink.
Yeah.
So we had to take out our super.
When you first came here, how easy was it to sort of meet new people and build those social networks?
Because in hospitality it's kind of easy, because in hospitality everyone is just so happy and friendly, and it's very easy to make friends in hospitality industry, I would say. So it was not challenging. It was easy.
So it was easy to socialize with people from work.
Yeah, and outside of work, if you made friends, and I made friends, it was easy.
Because I know some people have commented that they've found it difficult to sort of get to know people here properly. You can't have sort of those superficial connections, but those deeper connections are a little more difficult in somewhere like Tasmania. Has that been your experience, or has it been different for you?
I would say it was a bit different. Like there were some, like you said, artificial connections. But then I found one of my friends and we're still in touch. So I would say we have a deeper connection than those artificial connections that I had. Yeah.
That's really important for settling into a new place.
Yeah.
Isn't it, to be able to do that? And because you said that you didn't really know anyone before you came here, is that right?
No, yeah, I didn't know anyone like at all. So the Italian restaurant was the first place where I started sort of meeting new people, but they were just friendly because you work in there, but not as friendly as they would go out with you or something like that.
But would you say that also the culture that you come from, Kazakh culture, is that a fairly sociable culture? Are people generally outgoing?
Yes and no, I would say. I'm not sure how about now. Maybe a bit more open or friendlier, but our hospitality is very crucial part of our community. But in terms of like openness and closeness, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure about now. But before, because I was small and I left like really early, I remember them very like open people.
What would you say has been the most difficult thing about sort of trying to settle into Tasmania? Or the most difficult thing to adjust to, perhaps?
In Tasmania, you can have so many, like everyone, and you can make so many friends. But as you said, to create a genuine connection with someone, it's very hard. Like you would have the whole city of your friends, but then it's very hard to find that genuine connection. I would say that's the biggest challenge, because everybody's, which is a good thing, everybody's friendly, but then to have that one true friend is very hard.
Yeah, and that's often why, people can get a bit homesick or feel lonely because they don't have those, because those are the connections you are used to at home.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, that's true. And FaceTime or Skype wouldn't change it, because that's just digital. You want human connection, like you want that person sitting next to you or chat to you,
Who would you say was sort of the biggest influence on you in sort of your early life?
I would say my mom. Yeah, she was the one who was always like giving suggestions, and in terms of everything, in terms of fashion, in terms of the way you look after yourself, and sport-wise, I would say that mostly, but education for her is like very important as well. I think I would say both of them, yeah, not just mom.
And in Kazakhstan, is sort of the extended family important as well?
Extended, yeah, of course. Like if, for example, let's say you're Kazakh and you're getting married, they would invite everyone from your girlfriend's side of family, and then they would invite everybody from their side. They would invite relatives that you don't actually know, but they're still there. And you would have to be knowing everyone and stuff, yeah. Especially on this kind of big events like weddings and stuff. Like it's a huge family and everybody's invited. Nobody's left out. And hospitality is a big part of our community, I would say. And we always throw like big parties when it comes to weddings, let's say. Yeah, we want to make sure that everybody's having a good time, everybody's fed well, and really yummy food.
Yeah, what's maybe a classic or traditional Kazakh sort of food?
I don't know how to describe it, but like a big giant noodle, like with the size of your palm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then like boiled potatoes on the side, and then boiled onion on the top of that. And then you have lamb meat, and then the horse meat as well. But like a horse sausage, you can say. Yeah.
Okay. I know in some cultures where the extended family is important, that families also can have a bit of a say on the person you get married and things like that. Is that the case in Kazakhstan?
I would say grandmas and grandpas, they usually have a really big say in terms of who you marry. But the extended family, I don't think they have that much of a say I would say like your parents and granddads, they are like the biggest one.
What are their sort of concerns, or what do they look for in a marriage partner, I guess?
If he has a job, if he has a house to live in, to bring you in, I think these are two particular main points. If he's able to support you, if he's able to support the baby in the future down the line. Yeah, those are the two biggest questions that they usually ask.
But I was invited to a Kazakh home. What should I expect?
You would expect a huge table of different sort of food, cold meats, hot dish, a lot of tea. We drink a lot of tea. Like my dad, he has a really big bowl, and he could drink it like 2-3 bowls like that of tea, and it has to be really hot as well. And the way you present the tea, it will be perfect to perfection. It has to be particular color. It cannot be too white, cannot be too dark. It will be in the middle. And you would expect really warm bed and a lot of blankets. We would give you a lot of blankets. If you need a lot of pillows, we will give you a lot of pillows. And we would make sure that you are well fed again. Even though you're like, no, I'm done. We would make sure to give you either a takeaway if you stay in the hotel or something, or if you don't want to stay with us. But we would encourage you to stay with us because we really want to make sure that you're happy. And yeah, that's what you would expect. And you would expect a lot of questions like, how is it living in Tasmania and stuff like that. Yeah.
And what about if you're invited to a Kazakh wedding? What should you expect in that situation?
In a Kazakh wedding, you would expect performances, a lot of performances, a lot of singing, a lot of toasts where people are giving their blessings and giving their wishes to the bride and groom. A lot of kids, a lot of dances. Depending on the wedding, maybe drinks, maybe not drinks. For example, my cousin, he had a wedding where he had no alcohol because that's his wish. Some weddings, they do have alcohol, so. And you would expect a lot of fun as well.
Yeah.
A lot of games on the weddings as well.
Okay. And as a guest who's invited, what's expected of me? Do I have to bring anything or something like that? Or behave in a certain way?
As a guest, if you would need to come, that's what I would expect. You would need to come to the groom and bride, congratulate them, maybe give them an envelope of some sort.
Like a
envelope of gifts, like a cash or something. Or give a gift if you know the bride and groom.
Yeah.
But your appearance would be meaning them a lot anyways.
Is there anything about your the Kazakh culture in Kazakhstan that you sort of miss here?
I think the only part I'm missing is my mom's food and my family in general. But that's about it. Because I left Kazakhstan really young, I don't really remember much. That's why. I think the most important part I miss my family and the food that she cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any particular dish that you miss the most?
Yeah, beshbarmak. And she also does like, here you call it dumplings. Over there we call it manti. And it's like, so basically dumpling with pumpkin and beef inside it. And it's so good.